Thank you all for coming. This is our first in-person Entrepreneurial Speakers Club event with our speaker in person. And what better person to start us off than John Feland? I don't know how we're gonna follow next event because John Feland is kind of the ultimate person to speak at this club. But he's our former club advisor. And he's here today to talk about his work at Argus Insights, which is the company that he started all on his own before coming to Nueva. And now the work that he does at CableLabs, the company that he's at after leaving our school. He's still working a little bit on Argus Insights, so it's truly a role model for balancing different businesses and innovation and companies. But yeah, we are super excited to have John Feland here. I know you all know him and love him. So round of applause.
Timing really quick, we'll do about a 20-minute presentation or so, maybe less, maybe more, about John and Argus Insights and CableLabs, just kind of between that too, so you can get a general oversight of that. If you have any questions during that, go to the bit.ly. It's a Slido, so you can see questions, and if you don't have questions but you want to upvote other questions for it to be asked maybe sooner at the end, then you can do that too. And then after, Rihanna and I will go into a quick interview portion about kind of his entrepreneurial process, keep that like entrepreneurial aspect in it, so you guys can learn anything about like becoming an entrepreneur from John's journey, and then we'll finish it out with the questions from the Slido.
All right, cool. Well, as you all know, I am apt to have lots of information, lots of slides. So I have, oh yeah, there's 52 here, but I'm not going to go through all 52. So I'm going to do today is first, thank you to these two. They started the club and they keep going with the club. It's awesome. And thank you to all of y'all because I miss you guys. I miss you guys a lot. So yeah, it's great to be back. So I'm going to show y'all as a bit of an overview I did for Argus back when I was trying to sell it before I came to Nueva. Didn't actually sell it, so I still have some pieces working on it. So I'll show you some of that stuff too. And actually, if you want to play with some of the tools, I will show you how to get to them. But let me start with the overall piece. Some of you, and what you're going to see as we go through this is some of you will recognize some of the material from Argus from your classes. And some things I'm doing in CableLab from your classes, right? So effectively, what I'm doing now with my day job are the things I've been teaching you all for the last 4 years, which is kind of cool. Because, you know, you get paid money to do the things that we teach you, which is kind of nice. All right, a brief view of the journey of Argus. So this is one of the reasons that Argus exists. Actually, the technology behind Argus Insights came out of my PhD work at Stanford. My goal there at the time was to try to measure the relationship between good design. This is early days of the D school, my friends at IDEO and all that kind of stuff, and good business, right? Show basically, yeah, you got to pay my friends at IDEO more money because they're helping you with the bottom line and driving revenue and all those kinds of stuff. In the midst of the PhD defense, the founder of IDEO and actually former Nueva parent and the reason you guys have design thinking at Nueva, David Kelly, said, John, that's cool, but I think you could do more here. Started poking on my math and my approach in analytics. And one of the things we found was that the metrics I developed around measuring the relationship people have with their products. Does anyone have a smartphone today? Does anyone have a smartphone at night? Right? So you have this with you all the time. In the old days, you know, these were things that we didn't carry with us all the time. They would go other places and things of that sort. The smartphone that you kept in your pocket right now was one of the reasons I started Argus Insights. And what we dug into, what David said, go dig more on, found that the reviews, the relationship people had with the products that I was studying and their performance was predictive. So without realizing, I actually had found a way to create a crystal ball. Now the crystal ball was Amazon.com reviews. The more a product the more a product was reviewed, the sales went up in the future. It's a nice predictive relationship to find. If you've had an economics class or a SAS class or any kind of linear regression stuff, whoop, yes, to infinity and beyond. And I'm like, cool, wow, that's awesome. I was focusing my PhD on 3 things. The 3 signatures I needed to graduate. Because my partner in crime, Xandra and Anna's mom was worried I would become a graduate student and never actually graduate. So 3 signatures. I got my 3 signatures, I went to industry. And along the way, I ended up at a company called Synaptics where my job was to create next generation touch interfaces. And I have some of those things here, like this is a prototype controller we made for Nintendo. This was almost in the Wii, and then the Wii U, and then the Switch, but they ended up going with motion stuff instead. Some of you may recognize this. It's an iPod. Right, Synaptics made the scroll wheel on that. I didn't work on that, but I have a bunch of scroll wheels here and things, and touch pads and track pads and touch screens. The teachers in the room probably recognize this more than the students do. This is a Palm. Palm, what we call a PDA, not public display of affection, but a personal digital assistant. So this is the Palm 3. It was a touch screen. This was a touch screen. And you guys are having flashbacks, and now you can see, like, look at the smile on Andrew's face. It's great.
I had one in middle school to keep track of all my homework. I love it.
It's fantastic, right? Now, touchscreen here is a resistive touchscreen. Basically, you have to destroy it over time. It uses this compound called lithium tin oxide, and when you smash on it, the lithium tin flakes off, and over time, it's like, is that a finger? I don't know. Love of the unicorn. Hey, Caden. Wait, are you twinned with yourself? Twinned with your unicorn. That is a total awesome. Come on in. There's room.
Okay.
But we went to Palm and said, Palm, we have this display that doesn't go down. You can actually get more than one finger. You can do all these things. And they said, I can't use a stick to poke at it the way I do with the Palm. They were stuck on their old behaviors. We're like, okay, we know this is going to be the next generation mobile interface. So we actually then built the Onyx. This is actually what we wanted a design award for. This is the first working multi-touch handset. This came out in August of 2006. Does anyone remember when the iPhone came out? It was announced in January of 2007, and then released to the market in June of 2007. And this came out before the iPhone. We're trying to help Palm figure out how to compete in the marketplace. They ignored it. We don't want to use this. It's not new. And when the iPhone came out, they're like, Apple, you make iPods. You don't make phones. They ignored the threat for the longest time. And I'm like, I wonder if the math for my PhD still works. This is like 4 years later. And it did. And so I built Argus Insights around trying to harvest consumer perceptions, consumer reviews, and social media and all that kind of stuff to actually understand where you as the consumers were taking the marketplace. And then use that as a way to help companies figure out what to do next. So I founded it. Best Buy was awesome. I did work with IDEO, which is fun to go back and work with my friends. Built a SaaS platform. So when I first did this PhD work, my background, some of you may know, is I'm a mechanical engineer, right? Drilling holes in aluminum, yeah. Writing code, no. My last formal software class was in high school, and I studied Pascal. And no, I know that's a 12th grader named Pascal, and he's an incredible debater, but I didn't study him. He wasn't born yet. Along the way, so when I first did this PhD work to kind of figure out the data and the relationships, I hand copy and pasted over 5,000 Amazon.com reviews for Palm PDAs. Now, doing that will drive you to a bunch of things. Some involving adult beverages. For me, it drove me to learn how to write software. And so over the time, actually, I ended up writing my own algorithms and software for Argus Insights and built our own SaaS platform. And that's a software as a service, which means that rather than having to download the Argus platform, you just subscribe and send me a check every month. I started bringing in social media. I started bringing in Twitter data, writing Twitter a check every month for millions and millions of tweets and figuring out how to grow. We were at one point in time in 2013, you all were all born then, good, okay. 2013, we were processing over 1 million tweets a day. Now, there's a lot more tweets than that in the world, but we were narrowed on the focus part of the marketplace. And I've gotten to look at, through this data, markets evolve. We saw the echo land of the marketplace. We saw products fail soon after launch. We saw other products beat all expectations. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun. And then 2018, one of the main things I learned in building Argus was 8 ways not to build a sales team. And what do you need to have a company survive? Sales team. When I sold, I could close it. When I tried to teach other people to sell, it didn't work. It didn't scale. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's the case along the way. Y'all know this stuff. This is like old things. Done a bunch of different stuff. Used to wear blue in the Air Force. Some of you may or may not know that. At one point in time, I was one of 3 veterans on campus. Now there's just 2. But we harvested data. I got tons of data. I've got reviews. I've got every tweet from Dallas, San Jose, and New York for like 3 years straight. Every single one to figure out what's going on. And that's part of the way we figured out who the bots were and things of that sort. So the machine, hey, Matt. And the way I would talk about this is we collect, analyze, and report on the data so that our customers could figure out how to keep calm and take action, move on. That's what we did. We basically would package that stuff up, use the platform, use the tools to figure out what's going on. And it was all around this. So this is this. This was the favorite device of Silicon Valley. Everyone loved their Trios. Oh my goodness, keyboard. I could type in emails. I had a screen I could poke with a stick. I mean, come on, this was everything. This was awesome. And it was in my hand, and it had a cellular radio that was 2G, which meant I could, in 3 hours, download the movie times for the Century Theater down the street. It was GPRS, that's right. Oh, I remember that radio platform. Anyway, when this was the most popular, 5 stars, 4.5 stars on average on Amazon. When the iPhone was launched, see this drop? iPhone's launched in January. The drop goes down where it's like, yes, we love our palms too. I'm sorry, palm what? Oh, face palm, yes. No changes in hardware. No changes in software. But the alternative experience was there. The iPhone was had just been launched. And so now they had an alternative, right? Have you ever had a situation where someone says, hey, would you like a piece of broccoli? You're like, yeah, that sounds pretty, yeah, broccoli sounds good. Or this donut. Oh. That's what we did. We measured donuts and broccoli too. And you see that here. The iPhone comes out. People say, yeah, it's not quite. Oh, actually, oh. Wow. Meanwhile, this entire time, I'm still working at Synaptics, but I'm watching this take place. I had a front row seat because my job was to go to Nokia, BlackBerry, Samsung, LG, and say, multi-touch. I got your multi-touch right here. Come on, you want to buy a multi-touch? Come on, how many fingers you want? I got 2, got 3, come on. I have 4 fingers, I have 5 fingers. Let's go for 5 fingers. At one point in time, they're like, can we get 10 fingers to say that we have more than Nokia? Like, it's a 3-inch screen. How do you, can I move a toe in there too? I'm like, this is not a yoga phone. It was over 18 months before the first competitor of the iPhone came out. It was over 18 months before the press realized, oh my goodness, Apple has changed our reality. We saw it right away because we listened to the market, we listened to customers, we listened to the everyday people talking about what they loved and what they hated, as opposed to the experts. The experts were way late. And who was the first company to compete with Apple? Who'd you guess? All those who think Nokia. Nokia was the first one. BlackBerry. LG. Samsung.
It's just you, John.
Google. Yeah, it was an Android phone. The G1. And you know whose touchscreen was on that first Google phone? Synaptics. Yeah, it was crazy. Okay. So we would do this. We would actually listen to what was going on. We looked at the launch of the iPhones over the years. Actually, for almost 5 years straight, we beat Wall Street estimates of iPhone sales every quarter. I think we got it wrong once because all the analysts would get together and say, all right, how many chips did you sell? And how many screens did you sell? And how many did you sell through your stores? And they go through and they get behind these dark rooms. I don't think they were smoking because it was in California, but they would figure out what was going on and pull all these pieces together and go, all right, this is how much Apple's going to sell. And we go, let's see, we have all these reviews. No, it's actually going to be here. No, it's going to be here. We beat them. Here's an example. They thought that the Apple actually said, you know what? This new phone, the 5C, this candy bar looking phone, it's not doing as well as we thought it was going to. We're going to have lower revenues. Stock went, poof. You want me to? No, we don't believe in Apple anymore. This is horrible. That quarter, they broke records globally. Even they were surprised by how well they did. We weren't. Knew right away. Part of you are probably like, how could you not sell this, John? Are you an idiot? Yes. Yes. Right? I mean, think about it. Their market cap dropped by $43 billion. Then it gained $70 billion literally overnight when they broke the quarter. If I had bet on that, I wouldn't have to work anywhere. But I didn't. Because my goal was always to help companies design better experiences for their users and how they use that. But we helped some people along the way. Rick Rommel, who was one of my customers at Best Buy, still is a customer today at this processing network. He says, we just get data, but Argus actually tells us what to do with it. Right? Think about the things you're learning here and what it means to be able to take what you know and then help someone else take action for that. And then measure the impact of that action, right? Whether it's a calculus or physics or computer science or political science or international relations, all those things create interventions that move society in a different direction. And you have the mindset and the skills to do that, which is very cool. I mean, we had all kinds of ways to look at data and visualize data and do this with data and that with data. And I made everything in a platform that you could subscribe to and use it. And guess how many people used it? Guess. How many? 30? 3,000? 2, myself and my analyst. And my analyst, McKenna, she, her undergraduate was in legal studies, but she could tell stories with data. She was amazing what she could do with it. And what we found was that, you know, it was one of the things where I would see the data go, can't you see the beauty? See, have y'all ever had that happen where you're going through like a new theorem or a new theory and the teacher's like, oh, look at the elegance, isn't this gorgeous? The action, the strategy, oh my goodness. And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That would happen a bit with here, how we translate along the way. And we do scorecards and all kinds of different things, lots of text. How do we make sense of text? And then, oh yeah, who are these people? So Argus, we had a corporate holiday. It was Talk Like a Pirate Day on September 19th. It was fun to say Argus. Yeah. And this was the team. This was one of the things that, you know, you end up intentionally designing along the way. It's kind of important. And then we would give them with more data about happening, what's going on with the Wi-Fi installation, how Wi-Fi is, oh, there they are again. Oh, wow, okay. And then we would talk about where the pieces are coming from and well, there they are again. So it turns out teams are really important products to focus on too. Because it's very hard to do things by yourself. Anybody here on a team? Right, you are on a team, right? Even if it's just Team Nueva, you're on a team. And when that team works well, you can accomplish well beyond what anyone expects by an individual. The sum really is greater than the whole is really greater than the sum of the parts. And so think about your teams and what you're building there. And then we switch to the next stage. Arrgh! Some of you may have been in that class when I started doing costumes. Or the hidden pun. Does everyone remember this pun? I have a crown that Jim Paul got for me. Yes, King of Spades! Yes! This is when I learned that green screens could do crazy things. It's kind of crazy. And, you know, and that one you also on campus quite a bit. So part of the reason I started Argus was to try to have enough freedom to go and teach. And create a school, actually. I was going to build a school. And then I realized that Nueva had actually built everything based on what I kind of was hoping to build. I'm like, can I just help out? And that's when I got to spend with some of you, the seniors, like the last 3.5 years with you. It was a gift and continues to pay dividends. I miss you guys tremendously. But now I'm in a different place. Yes, we're back. I'm now at CableLabs. So, anybody have internet at home? This is the mirror test question, right? Does anyone have Comcast? Internet at home? Does anyone have fiber? So the way the broadband industry works, the cable companies are given a franchise. We have this group that we can do things with, this group that we don't do things with. It's like having McDonald's. Can you have two McDonald's right next to each other? No, they still.
They did it anyway.
Which what?
So they did it anyway.
The Starbucks does it because they figured out actually if you have them across the street, it's easier to sell more coffee at both places. McDonald's doesn't have that same thing. You have them right next to each other. Do you want to go this Big Mac or that Big Mac? Like, I don't want any Big Mac. And so with cable, they have franchises. Comcast can't compete where another cable company is already at. They pay a franchise fee to the government around that. But one of the cool things about this means they can all take part of their revenues and pool it together into a single company who pays my paycheck right now. So it's a pool R&D organization. So improvements in Wi-Fi, improvements in cable modems, improvements in download speeds, upload speeds, all that stuff come out of CableLabs and gets shared across industry. So it's sort of like a futuristic think tank. And my job at CableLabs is to do design thinking, need finding, data analysis. I'm not doing mechanical engineering, and to help with kind of how you market that story from an entrepreneurship standpoint, build business cases around it. And it's because they have these incredible, fantastic, talented wireless engineers, people who know more about coax cable than you know about your own life. It's insane what these people know. And they would create these cool ideas that no one cared about. So they started an insights group probably about 6-8 years ago, so they actually could start marrying up the needs and solutions together, right? Needs and solutions are a really important part of my own trajectory. What was Argus? Argus are Office Solution, my PhD work. Cool, graduated, got my 3 signatures, woohoo! Wait a minute, people don't know what's happening in the marketplace. There's a need, let's apply that. Touchscreens for Synaptics for the longest time were solutions. Hey, you want to put, we could put this on a bouncy ball. Hey, we have transparent basketballs, that would be really cool. And then smartphones evolved, and it's like, okay, we're gonna put this on everything. And so they needed a need finding group, and that's what we get to do. And part of what they do in the need finding piece, let's see, we have volume. Let's see. Let me try this. I may not have. I see what's happening here. ちょっとすみませんけど, I made the thing too big. I did this live class too. Oh, here we go. Never content. All right. Here we go.
Could be the jet lag talking.
I'm a little out of practice, presenting to people.
Could be the jet lag talking, but I'm ready for this, right?
Nikki, you've got everything you need. Just go for it.
Take the mouse off your face.
Weird. Can you check the address again?
Confirmed. Straight from the boss. Go get them.
Is this it?
Is what it? Coffee?
No thanks, I just need a second, okay? Alice, where am I?
Right where you should be. And 30 minutes early.
Hey! Hey! Alice, give me a meeting with Devin and Maya ASAP.
Destination?
Follow that car.
There are 17 vehicles in immediate
The red
proximity.
one.
Wait, why are you in the car?
I lost the bag. Faster.
The allowed speed limit is 25 miles per hour.
What's that?
Enjoy your ride.
The prototype. It's gone.
How gone?
Is that a joke?
It gets worse. The meeting with the boss, well, the location doesn't exist.
What?
Oh, stop here. Stick with me. Hey!
You okay?
Nikki, that's our only prototype.
What's plan B, Nikki?
It's okay. I can still pitch without it. I just gotta get to that meeting.
In the place that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that's not one of ours.
What's that?
Hey, Alice. Can you get me a hollow room? Get Jen.
All booked. You're in suite 305. Take a left. You have a new message from the CEO.
Play.
Hey, it's Beth. I'm heading up to the 16th floor. See you there.
Hey, guys. Hey, Jen.
Hey, we're cutting a bit close.
Think you're gonna want to take a look at this.
Building schematics. All right, let me do a deep search against everything in the public records.
Great. Devin, ideas?
Let me take a closer look. Well, it's definite tech, but what it does... I'm gonna need a few minutes.
You have 5.
All right, bingo. AI made a map. It's the Fine Arts Museum, 3 blocks from here.
And the other?
It doesn't exist.
Of course it doesn't. All right, well, keep at it. Hey, Devin, time's up.
Okay, so there's GPS and an NP transmitter.
So it's location-based.
Seems that way.
Hi, Jim.
There's a marker on the blueprint, middle of the first floor.
I don't see anything.
The opposite of an escape
Well,
room.
whatever it is, it should be right in front of you.
Do the robot.
Hey, Nikki. I'm here. Are you close?
So close. I can see it. Jim, can you get our mystery building? Please inform me here. Beth?
Hi, Nikki. It's nice to finally meet you in person.
I think this is yours.
What's going on? So this was all just some kind of...
Let's think of this as a kind of interview. In an orthodox one, it does the trick. He should know. I put him through it too.
Hi, Jeremy.
Yay.
So no need for presentations today. I'd like to talk to you about a new project I'd like you to head up. I think it's right up your alley.
So the whole premise is that they're making stories. You remember how we talk about doing stories and design thinking about what tomorrow could be like? Yeah. That's what they're doing. And they're trying to figure out how to do that in such a way that drives enabling uses of broadband internet and things of that sort. What happens when you start mixing up location, low latency, handling privacy and all that kind of stuff. And these thought pieces become ways to share out into the world what's possible as you think about what technologies could do that. It gives both the engineers a chance to think about how they design towards that future, but also the customers and the public a way to do that too. We did that same thing with the Onyx. The Onyx, entire goal here was not to sell phones that look like aluminum bricks. The goal was to be able to go to all the handset manufacturers and say, imagine if you could do something like this. And then they did. And now you all have smartphones in your pockets. And so that's what we're doing at CableLabs, is trying to figure out what that happens next. And I'm not gonna play that again. I'm using R and looking at correlation data to figure out segments in the overall piece, right? Big data, lots of data, lots of data. And I'm still doing things with Argus. In fact, this is analysis of probably 6,000 Best Buy reviews of Wi-Fi extenders to figure out what they're talking about in the overall place. So I'm sort of refreshing some of those tools, techniques to pull that in.
Hey Anya, what are you doing today? Oh, funny you ask. I'll be going to the boys volleyball game today at 4 after school. OMG, me too! Yay, see you there.
Are y'all having food shot day? That's hilarious. Does that happen every day? That's a riot. And then this is the last piece I want to show you. This is a technique to way to collapse time. You know, I do a lot of stuff with Doc Brown about time and space. Has anyone read 1,000 survey results? Anyone?
Oh,
Yeah.
Not quite that many. Yeah.
What was this for? What class?
We did the WOW qualitative analysis for XR. We had to read through some responses a couple of times.
Okay, so next time, use the whispers. It tells you the why behind your data. The whole idea behind this is it pulls out key phrases and shows you where they're connected. And the colors are tagged based on sentiment. So you can figure out the key themes and not read the last piece. Yeah, I know this sounds like something you guys have been working on. Code's been around since 2012. Albert and I talked about it about what, 6 months ago, Albert, roughly? No big deal. There's another company called Quid that uses a similar type of force-directed graph to show information. So the great thing about creating things is there's always markets for things. Just because this exists doesn't mean it can't coexist with what you guys are doing, which is great. But yeah, if you want to try it out, go to whispers.argusinsights.com, play with it, break it, send me an email what you broke, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's it. I went over. I'm sorry.
Before you guys leave, we're gonna have a few quick questions about John's entrepreneurial journey, and then we're gonna go into an audience Q&A, and then get you all out of here definitely in time for class.
Yes, and if you want, I've got Argus stickers and CableLabs business cards.
Ooh, business card.
Okay, and a reminder, if y'all have any questions, go to this. John has his own Bitly link.
Woohoo!
Go to the Bitly link and enter your questions there, and we'll try to get through them towards the end.
And if you don't get to them, I'll answer them anyway. I'll figure them out.
Aw.
Okay.
All right.
So our first question is, John, how have your shifts from Argus to Nueva and then now back into industry been for you?
Has anyone ever had whiplash? It feels a little that way, right? But more like a social whiplash. I'm back on Zoom a lot. I don't get to see people in person as much. Most of the people I interact with on the innovation side are actually in Colorado. So I miss this show. But yeah, but it's been good because I get to take part of what informed my teaching of y'all was what I had done and learned in Argus and in IDEO and other places. And part of what I get to do at CableLabs is actually informed by what kind of projects we did together. So yeah.
Okay, going way back.
Way back, yes.
Very relevant.
In what ways has your childhood and your educational journey informed your work in entrepreneurship?
So it's one of those things where my first attempt at a business was to sell peach pits. Set up a little stand on the side of the road thinking, hey, these are future peaches, come on, I think it's gotta think ahead. And we lived on a gravel road in Dover, Arkansas at the time, in which the actual traffic was pretty much just the neighbors. They already had their own peach pits. So that's talking about, figuring out what good product market fit was not there. And I was definitely afraid of talking to people I didn't know. I mean, I'm an extrovert, I love but if I'm on stage, it's easy to talk to a bunch of people I know. But mom used to have to make me call to order pizza because I was so cold calling still is really hard for me. I still have issues with that. But then got bit by the entrepreneurship bug along the way because I always wanted to be an inventor, but I also realized that inventors who don't go to market don't actually have an impact. And so I started in grad school when I was out here, got bit by the Silicon Valley bug. It's at MIT. I took classes in product design and got to know about the design industry and actually designing toys and things of that sort. I wanted to know about all the other parts of making success with that too. So I came out to Stanford, I started taking entrepreneurship stuff. And actually then was doing a lot with engineering entrepreneurship programs with Stanford and with the Air Force Academy. And then when I came back and blah, 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 blah. And that's how I met y'all. We taught entrepreneurship here. So yeah, it's been a big part of it. but it's always been around how do I scale beyond myself, right? There's things that I can do, but entrepreneurship allows you to make a dent in the universe beyond your own scale. As Morgan will tell you from her own experience. Yeah.
Did you sell any peach pits?
I did not sell any peach pits. No, market was saturated. I hated about this a little bit. One, because it kept hitting me in the face. What do you mean you don't realize that the iPhone's a threat? How can you not? Oh, that's right. You don't have the same data I do, and algorithms, and the crystal ball. And I thought there would be a great fit because at the time at Synaptics, we were paying a lot of money to companies like Gartner and Forrester for market research, and it was huge. And their whole entire, they couldn't go after market unless they had like 10 MBAs in a room and then write a report. And then it was delayed. Whereas I had real-time intelligence that happened in the marketplace. And once I scraped the data and analyzed it, I could then sell it 25 times over. I couldn't, but I learned that along the way.
My next question is, how has your experience at Argus inspired your work at CableLabs?
Well, I'm dusting off the old code. So the Best Buy reviews data I showed you was coming from doing some work to try to understand what's happening in the Wi-Fi space for Wi-Fi routers and things. And all of my past experiences sort of inform what I'm doing today. How we build research projects, how do we then do innovation and brainstorms, and how do we figure out what the product market fit is, and how do we actually map out the ecosystems? Where are there holes? Take the business model canvas. Those of you who had entrepreneurship or did a WOW workshop on it, that canvas helps you map out ecosystems and figure out where there's holes, but also where you can actually create value that's different from other people. For example, y'all's visualization tool creates value in places that maybe is different than what the Weisburst does and different than what Quid does. It may be, quote, the same solution, but it may address different needs. It may address the same needs. Who knows? Go for it. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, and then our last question is, now that you work at both Argus and CableLabs, how do you balance the two? I bet Nueva kids could really use some balancing and the time management advice.
Well, again, this morning I got up at 4, probably because I was excited about being here and seeing you guys. But most days I get up early and try to knock some things out. Biggest thing is taking breaks along the way. Cramming, I find, doesn't work very well because I crammed enough in social all-nighters. Cool, yeah, I get to hang out all night. Academic all-nighters, not so effective because it's a lot of diminishing returns, as Patrick would say. And what happens is you fade out, and so it's better to take breaks. The biggest thing for the balance piece is having compassion for yourself, and realize that at any point in time you're doing the best that you can. And yeah, you can do better next time, but give yourself a break.
Yeah, now it's time for our Q&A section. Okay, then we might not have any questions on the Slido, which is totally fine, in which case we can, oh wait, there's one question. Make it bigger. To what degree do you view competition and time pressure to market as harmful to innovation? And how do you find yourself balancing the two?
Oh, that's a good point. At some level, the competition sharpens what you do. It actually forces you to be clear about your innovation. One of my mentors at Stanford was Rolf Foster. He's no longer with us. But he would talk about our job here at Stanford in the design program is to teach you to have lots of ideas. The ideas are interesting. Execution is what matters. Execution is what moves the market forward and moves your things forward. Competition, if that makes you move a little faster, that's good. Because the other thing is, was this the first MP3 player in the marketplace? What about the prior one that had a mechanical wheel? Was that one? No. Was Apple, was the iPhone the first touchscreen phone on the marketplace? No. What did Apple do? They learn from the mistakes of the competition. So competition is good. Sometimes waiting to go to market can be a very good thing. So like right now when I'm trying to reboot Argus Insights, rather than trying to do all the things and scrape all the data and check the Twitter every month, I'm like, okay, what's the lowest common, what do people need to do? They need to ask one question and understand what they say and all that. So especially y'all that did the qualitative in our XRT thing. That's a lot of data. What do you do with all that stuff, right? If you have a tool that makes it easy to do one thing well, that's chef knife versus Swiss Army knife piece. But it helps innovation. You have to launch, people tend to, one of the things we hear from all entrepreneurs is that they never fired fast enough. If you have someone who's sort of a carbon-based room heater, and they never launched fast enough. Because the moment you get out to the marketplace, the moment you get feedback from your customer, the moment you actually put a stake in the sand, you learn, do we have the right price? Do we have the right solution? Do we have the right market? Do we have the right customers? Because yeah, sometimes you fire customers. Sometimes customers take so much time and effort to serve that you can't focus on growing the other parts of your business. And the only way to know that is to get out there early. So yeah, good question.
Cool.
Anonymous.
Our next question. How do you pursue your other passions and projects now that you're in a less interdisciplinary space?
Oh, I still knit. Not as much. I picked up working on a hat for my dad. And I hadn't knitted in like 6 months, but I hadn't knitted the last 6 months 4 months at Nueva either. So one of the funny things about it is actually, so being here is awesome. It's also consuming, as you know. And so sometimes it's hard to juggle your schedules and my schedules. And whose schedule has to come first? Your schedule, right? Have y'all gotten the survey yet next year? Okay, I just got clinchy. Okay. Woo boy, run Wes, run. But I think for a lot of those things about it's interesting because I'm actually in some respects more at different disciplines, right? I don't see an Arda every day. I don't see a Patrick every day. I don't see a Ted every day. I don't see a Morgan. I don't see, and you guys, I don't see that kind of disciplines across the things. I don't work with artists every day. I don't see May and Rachel, all that kind of stuff. But I do get to work with deeper disciplines on the engineering technical side, right? I work with people that are really great at market research, people that have deep technology experience in wireless, people that, like one of the first things and CableLabs has a very sort of broadly looking culture. I got pulled into doing a workshop on 3D printing in like my 3rd week there, because all these people who do software by day are passionate 3D printer folks at night. And so it's different disciplines, but still interdisciplinary compared to what it was.
Cool. Should we take some questions from the
If anyone has any more questions, you can just ask them straight to John yourself.
I was curious, this is specifically about CableLabs stuff, but I know that right now in the US, because of the way ISPs have kind of lacked competition in certain areas, they have not invested in building out broadband or like actually laying fiber in there for the US has pretty slow internet speeds compared to most of the world.
Yeah.
So is what cable is doing, will they help with that because they're doing this kind of like consolidation?
They're trying to, yeah.
Balancing?
Well, the hard part, the industry piece is that CableLabs is kind of effectively an R&D organization. And try to get Comcast and Cox and Charter and all those people to do things. Some of our members actually covered just 200 people, and they're a member of CableLabs. It's a bit of a pushing a rope piece a little bit. And one of the things I learned is that the reason that upload and download aren't the same on cable, because the way they split out the bandwidth on the cable itself. The bulk of it, think about early cable TV was all about consuming broadcast television, right? HBO and NBC and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, let's do some MPEG video stuff. Now we're gonna do video on demand and things of that sort. So we need some bidirectional stuff. We only need a little bit. So of the bandwidth they have on the cable that they use, they only use part of that for upload. And so now we've got the specs in place, we've got the technology in place to do full duplex. They call it a high split, where now you can have the same up as you have down. But it's not rolled out yet because you have tremendous install base of existing equipment. And people aren't used to changing over cable equipment the way they are on smartphones. And there's competition, right? Verizon, anyone see the Super Bowl? Super Bowl commercial. Super Bowl commercials are all about making my generation go, oh, it's Jim Carrey. And even the artists were like, oh, it's for us old people. I heard that on Muzak in the store the other day in a Walmart. But Verizon is taking 5G and making home internet service based on 5G radios, which was great when there's no one else. Hey, no one else signed up for it. And then you have people doing fiber. So you have all these people trying to figure out ways to boost it. But yeah, they've been kind of complacent for a while, and they're a little concerned. So they're trying to actually move these things faster. But now they're all hit by chip shortages. Supply chains. It's like those Chester fries. Remember the Chester fries? Or Maverick milk tea simulations that we did? Yeah. Other questions? That's a great question.
If you go up back in time and do one thing differently, what would it be?
I would have figured out the 9th sales team. Because there's value in what we were doing at Argus. I just never found the right product market fit. And the mistake I made is I designed the tools for me, which is how many things I taught y'all in design classes. Don't design it, you're not the user. So yeah, I would have made it simpler. I would have put more intelligence in the tool and relied less on the person on the other side of the tool. That's 2 things, I guess. But yeah, that's a good question. Other questions?
We can maybe take one more before we wrap it up.
I guess kind of like what do you plan on doing with Argus going forward? Do you plan on like developing it more or trying to sell it off?
Yeah, that's the goal. Because so y'all know SurveyMonkey. I force you to use it quite a bit. They're the neighbors. SurveyMonkey and Qualtrics and other people who do surveys have moved up market to a market called experience management. They want to have every touch point that you have in your customer, and they left the whole market for just simple surveys and how to make sense of it. And none of them have handled open-ended text very well. So the goal is to try to take the pieces around the Weisper piece to understand what's happening with that place and create something that's very simple and see if I can get traction that way. And do it as mostly as a lifestyle business. You know, if I can have like $5,000 a month in revenue, how much is that a year? 60K, right? 60K of mostly passive revenue. That's pretty good. That'll pay for a trip or 2. But then if it grows from there, then that's cool too. But yeah, that's the plan. Right now I'm using it to do site consulting gigs. Yeah.
Just because I was thinking about the qualitative stuff we did. So what qualitative coding do you do for the Argus?
What do you mean in terms of, did I use NLP libraries or?
Yeah, like how did you kind of understand the data that was coming in? How did you analyze it?
I looked at a bunch of different things. I used to write a check to a company called Clarabridge, and then I realized I was paying a lot of money for bad sentiment engine, so I made my own bad sentiment engine and classification tools. It's a combination of pieces of looking for key phrases, things that I looked at Bag of Words, I looked at Ngrams, looked at a bunch of different ways, and found that just looking for noun phrases was a good way to kind of see what's top. And then the way the interface is set up is that when you click on it, you can see the verbatims behind it and see what themes pop up. So it allows you to really pull quotes and insights of consumer stories quickly to build a picture of what's going on.
So like kind of sentiment coding or like idea and then the sentiment behind that idea?
Oh, my sentiment stuff, I cheated. I use reviews. Because consumers tell you a score, they tell you the words, and then when you take out the common things, because what it allowed you to do was to do a segment specific. I had a German tablet sentiment model. I had a Chinese, because I don't know Chinese. I mean, you guys do, but I don't. I had a Chinese smartphone sentiment model that I trained using the review data to figure out what phrases showed up preferentially. Look at the distribution, so rolling in stats and computer science and NLP to actually create a sentiment engine. That worked well enough because I didn't have to pay for it.
Amazing. Okay,
So, yeah.
wow. Thank you so
Sure.
much, John. Let's give a big round of applause. What a way to kick us off, especially with I think we are all so lucky to have been able to see you today, and we're so grateful for all the wisdom you've bestowed on us, and we miss you so much. So thank you so much, John.
Thank you.